welcome to Plan Today, Own Tomorrow with Guardian Investment Advisors. I am Gary Thurman, the CEO of the company, and I'm your host on our show, Plan Today, Own Tomorrow. So glad you guys could join us this week. We got a fun show this week because we're going to talk about all kinds of things. When it comes to retirement planning, taxes, income, healthcare, all of those things really tie into place. And we do talk about these things week in and week out because they're so important. They're so vital. They're basically a pitfall in retirement if you don't have these things set up properly. So we're going to hit some things with taxes today, some healthcare today, some income today, and have a great show. I'm honored and blessed to have Bobby Futch and Tanner Moore on the show with me today. We got Bridget, Abby, Rhonda out in the office. We got Tristan over here in the corner making sure we're doing everything right. Better Business Bureau rating, boys. We're still at A+. Pretty happy. Tanner, how are we an A+ with you on the team? I just don't understand.
Well, we're not in open enrollment yet for Medicare, so I mean.
But it's something, we've had an A+ rating. I just got an email from our guy yesterday. We started this firm 15 years ago, guys, and we've hit that A+ rating every single year. And that means a lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
It means
something
a lot
to be proud of for sure.
It is. And then something else, got nominated again for Best of the Best investment firm here in Chattanooga, which we're very proud of that. And you know what's interesting about that? You know, a lot of people do a lot of things to make sure they get those votes, right? And we just simply say, hey, clients, if you believe in us and what we're doing, we'd appreciate your vote. And we're always honored to be in the category, right, of Best of the Best. So it's a lot of fun for us. So, Bobby, how you doing today, buddy?
I'm good. Things are heating up here at Guardian Investment Advisors.
Yeah, we got one of our AC units are out.
That's right.
So, no, we have no jackets on today. We have our door at our studio open. We have a fan blowing, so you might hear some craziness going on. That's just the way it is. Tanner, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm doing awesome.
Good.
Speaking
good.
of open enrollment, buddy, are you getting amped up?
Yeah, we are. We're getting first looks are coming in where we can start to see plans for next year. Can't talk about them until October, but we're ready to get recertified. People don't realize this. We have to be recertified every year, which means we have to take tests. And so being licensed is a big deal in our world when it comes to it.
I mean, it's a fiduciary themed thing, right? I mean, you got to make sure you know what's going on out there in the medical world, and you got to stay on top of it. You got to have the proper license, just like all of us have to have the proper license to do the things we do. So staying on top of it, again, that's another reason we get those ratings from the Better Business Bureau, which is a lot of fun. But gentlemen, you know, we're going to dive into some critical components. And I think there's so many things that we need to discuss because it's kind of behind the scene look, right? What's going on in the backdrop? What's going on out there that could impact you in the future, especially with income and taxes and healthcare? Heck, running out of money. The number one risk in America, Bobby, is running out of money. So let's just jump into the tax conversation and why today's rates, it's a gift, Bobby. The big, beautiful tax bill just passed. It's a gift.
That's right. You know, and so before the bill passed on July 4th, you know, income tax rates were set to sunset at the end of this year, which was a really big deal, right? It was going to make a lot of Americans pay more in income taxes, and those have been extended permanently. Right, kind of air quotes with Congress. It's permanent until they want to change it. But what that does mean is at least through 2028. You know, we have clarity now on what the income tax rules are going to be here in the United States. And to your point, it is a gift. So all the planning we've been talking about for the last couple of years, you know, going ahead and prepaying some of those taxes. You're going to have to pay them eventually anyway. And so why wouldn't you prepay them when taxes are cheap? Now we've got a couple more 3 years to do that at these low tax rates to make sure when you get into retirement, you're not paying those huge tax bills that you signed up for when you started funding your 401k.
So when I want to make sure people understand this. You got a 401k, a 403b, an IRA. You made a deal with Uncle Sam. I'm not going to pay you now, Uncle Sam. I'm going to pay you later. So what you're saying, Bobby, is right now taxes are the third lowest they've ever been. Third lowest tax bracket we've ever seen. And technically, if we take 2025, 26, 27, 28, we got 4 years. Well, maybe Tanner, we can get out some of those high taxes, paying those future high taxes and pay them now, do some Roth conversions.
Right, and I think the biggest gift is especially for that person that's in the red zone of retirement, right? It may not be somebody that's already retired, but that's somebody that's thinking about retiring. Talk a little bit about what that red zone of retirement looks like, Bobby.
Yeah, with the better Build Back, the Big Beautiful Bill Act, we all have a couple of
Big Beautiful Bill.
B things. You know, they're actually, for a lot of folks, especially when you get into that red zone, for what we'll call seniors, 65 plus,
Right.
your taxes may have actually gone down. Right? There's a lot. The tax brackets didn't change, but you have a lot more credits, a lot more things you can use to deduct from your income taxes.
Yep.
So it's important that if you're in that red zone of retirement, or even if you already retired, you have to sit down with somebody who's looking at the comprehensive picture that includes income taxes. And again, we have a lot of CPA friends here at our firm,
Yeah.
so
Yep.
we're not bashing CPAs or accountants. But what a lot of them try to do is lower your income tax bill now.
Right.
That's really what you pay them for. Are a lot of them looking? Last time your accountant Gary told you to pay more taxes in the current year.
Actually, he did.
He
Yeah.
did. Well, he's a good one, right? But that's the point, all right? And that's why we send him a lot of.
That's
a
why
lot
we
of
send
folks.
some leads. That's
Yeah.
right. Some
So
referrals. Yeah.
if your accountant's not having the conversation about paying more in taxes now, you need to come down and sit with a planner. Sit down with a fiduciary comprehensive planner like Guardian and see how we can get your tax bill up a little bit so you don't have to pay it in the future.
I want to stay on that just for a few minutes. But first of all, I want to let everybody know you can go to plantodaytaxbill.com. Plantodaytaxbill.com. Stack up your numbers right now to what we think the future numbers might be. Plantodaytaxbill.com. So, Tanner, I'm 60 years old. I'm not, but let's say I'm 60 years old. I'm walking in here because you hit that red zone. I'm going to retire at 65. I've got 5 years, and we just talked about we got 4 years counting this year where we could take some of that 401k money and move it over to Roth. But wait a minute, I'm still working. I still got a 401k. How can I take advantage of doing some Roth conversions from that 401k?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, especially that person that's 60 plus, you know, maybe taking control of that 401k depending on what employer rules they may
Yeah,
have,
yep,
right?
yep.
If they're currently working, maybe they can't roll that over. That's just a conversation they can have with you all about that. But taking control of that 401k, because, again, I'm speaking from more of the medical side of things. You may have additional options, Bobby, Gary, out there.
Yeah, we'll talk about it.
So-
Yep.
Tanner, you're
59
right.
and a half rule.
59 and a half is the
Yeah.
magic rule. So every 401k plan is a little different, but that's an IRS rule. When
Right.
the year in which you turn 59 and a half, don't ask me how IRS decided to be 59
that's
and a
kinda
half.
weird. Yeah.
It's a very specific rule, but at that point your 401k unlocks.
Yeah.
Now we're not going to talk we're not going to suggest if you're still working that you stop
No.
Sure.
deferring
I
your
got 5 more
401k.
years to work. Let's go back to that scenario. I'm 60, retiring at 65. I've got $1 million in my 401k. So do I take it all out? Do I take some of it out? I mean, we got to leave some skin in the 401k because they're probably getting a free match.
That's right.
So let's say we took half of it, just
Right.
for an example.
Yeah, you could take half of it. You could take, everything out.
Take
We'll usually
99%
say
of it if you
take
want to.
99%. Leave a little bit in there. Leave it open. You don't want them to close your 401k, but the matches are on what you're putting in.
Right.
So
Right.
pull almost all that money out. Take control of it. The thing about when you get to that red zone in retirement is 401ks generally are pretty crummy at being safe.
Yeah, yeah.
Because it's an accumulation
Yeah,
tool. When
absolutely,
you're
yeah.
young and when you're working, you want that investment gas pedal to the floor. They're decent at that. But when you get into that red zone 5, 6, 7 years out of retirement, take control of that 59 and a half and make some safe investment decisions.
And something else, guys, we're going to talk about income later in the show today, but I'm 60 years old. I'm retiring at 65. Paychecks are going away. Maybe we take some of that 401k money, Tanner, put it into a program that's going to give me a guaranteed pension-like income at 65.
Yeah, we talk about the two terms accumulation versus preservation because that switch happens when you're no longer getting a paycheck anymore. It's about preserving what you have. Do you have enough, right? That's the question that everybody wants to know. And really, it's just a conversation when you come in here that we can do. We can put a plan in place for you. And it's really all income driven because getting a paycheck in retirement is the most important thing that people need right now.
You know what I'm hearing here, guys, and I hope everybody out there listening or watching us on YouTube is hearing the passion we have about taxes. It's not a lot of fun, but Bobby, right now is a golden opportunity, for folks to say, hey, I need to sit down with a fiduciary advisor, have a conversation, and see if a Roth conversion is actually right for me. It might not make sense, right?
Right. High income earners, it's a little harder to plan for. But if you think about it, if you're a high income earner, chances are your income in retirement is going to be higher. And so
Chances are, yeah.
And just because you're going to pay less of a marginal bracket in retirement, does that make a Roth conversion a bad idea? Not necessarily, because the earlier you can start these, you also have to take into account that tax-free compounding returns in your new Roth.
Yep.
So if you're paying 24, 32% on a Roth conversion, yeah, it's going to sting when you do it, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad idea just because you're in a higher marginal bracket.
It just makes me think of one of the programs you and I talked about not too long ago for someone. If they're, let's say they're 59 and a half, 60, 61 years old. Let's say I'm 60 and I don't need income until 67. We could take some of that 401k and put it into a program and get 15% a year guaranteed for future income.
Yes, that's
Why
awesome.
would you not do that?
I don't know, Gary.
I don't even. I'm asking, Bobby. I'm asking.
For a portion of your retirement savings that's going to be for income, listen, to your point, there's programs out there. We can guarantee future roll-ups for income. We're not going to suggest probably that you do all of your 401k or all of your IRA. But, man, that kind of compounding over 5, 6, 7 years.
Yeah. Add that with your Social Security. Maybe you have a pension. I mean, maybe you might be set by taking a portion of that money along with your Social Security, and maybe you have a pension, and you might not need to touch your other assets for income.
That's right.
Then we can have fun with those. Travel, spoil the grandkids, do whatever we want to do.
Get a boat.
Get a boat. Yeah.
Gary
get
needs
a boat. So there's a lot of things going on right now in our markets, especially with taxes. I know you guys have heard about the big, beautiful bill. A lot of things with Social Security, a lot of things with Medicare that we're going to dive into here in a few minutes. When we come back for our second segment, gentlemen, we're going to really dig into healthcare. You guys know I'm so passionate about this. I really want to dig into some healthcare, but if you're looking for some help when it comes to taxes on what to do, I'm going to give you an easy option. Text the word taxes, 877-706-7526. Again, the word taxes, 877-706-7526. And don't forget about our calculator, plantodaytaxbill.com. We'll be right back with more from Plan Today on tomorrow. In the U.S., it takes an average of 12.5 months for families to legally resolve all financial matters after someone passes away. As a financial advisor, I realize how delicate it can be talking about end of life and financial matters. But that is why I'm here, to help make that hard conversation about taking care of your loved ones easier to have. What if your beneficiaries need some funds sooner than 12 months to cover medical expenses, funeral costs, or monthly bills? That's where Guardian Investment Advisors has you covered. There is a financial solution where we would place a portion of your assets you're already planning on leaving to your loved ones into a guaranteed issue life insurance policy. Within 48 hours, these funds can be provided to your family with confirmation from the funeral home. I'm Gary Thurman, CEO of Guardian Investment Advisors. We are your neighbors right here in the Tennessee Valley. Call us today. Your peace of mind starts with a simple conversation. Welcome back to Plan Today on tomorrow with Guardian Investment Advisors. I hope everybody's having an amazing day in the Tennessee Valley, and I'm glad you're listening to our show. Gentlemen, we really hit taxes hard. We really pounded taxes in that first segment. I just want to remind everybody, if you're looking for a tax guide, some help in taxes, text the word taxes, 877-706-7526. I'll say it one more time, taxes, 877-706-7526. Or you can visit our calculator, plantodaytaxbill.com. Guys, I'm passionate about this next subject because of my life and how I got into this industry. And that's the healthcare's hidden cost out there. I think so many people, Tanner, overlook healthcare. And we know what the stats are. We're going to talk about them in a few minutes. But, I remember when my grandmother moved in with us. Mm-hmm. At that time, 33% of people needed some type of long-term care. And that number has jumped all the way to 70%, which is amazing to me. Longevity risk is real. Mm-hmm. But, Tanner, I think one of the biggest misconceptions out there is, why do I need to worry about health care? I've got Medicare. It takes care of everything, does it?
Right. When it comes to long-term care, it doesn't take care of it, right? So it's got some short-term care involved in it.
Yeah.
And so really what people have a misconception on is Part A of Medicare, my hospital coverage covers long-term care. Well, not exactly, right? It's going to cover up to 100 days of skilled nursing care after a qualifying hospitalization. So if you're in the hospital 3 more days, you get released, you need to go have recovery, for example. You can go into a skilled nursing facility and they're going to pay up to 100 days worth of coverage, right? Now, there's some hidden costs in there, really not hidden.
Right.
The first 20 days are covered, and then you're going to have a copay per day, but that's where your Medicare supplement hopefully comes into play if you have one of those. If you're on a Part C Medicare Advantage plan, it's a whole different conversation we can have. But really, it's going to cover up to 100 days worth of coverage. But then after that, Medicare stops paying the bill. They're not paying. They're not funding that anymore. So how are you going to choose that long-term care if you need more than 100 days worth, right?
Yeah, it's crazy to me to think about it, gentlemen. And Bobby, here's the biggest. I want to ask you a question. What surprises people most about long-term care? What was the shock factor?
The shock factor is one or two things. One, what we just talked about, realizing it's not actually covered. I thought it was.
Yeah.
And two, the cost.
Yeah,
It's incredibly expensive.
it's insane.
And even, we talk about wanting to get, into a nice place, air quotes. It can run $10,000 a month here locally.
Yeah, well, locally, I mean, like if you're getting taken care of home, and it's based on again, are you having someone come in once or twice a day? Are you needing 24-hour care? I mean, if you're needing 24-hour care at home, you're 50, 60 grand, right? But average price in-home care is about $2,500 a month. Steps up to $4,500, $5,000 for assisted living. Steps all the way up to $9,000 plus for full skill care. $9,000 plus, and now people with Alzheimer's are actually living longer.
I know it. That's
you live 5 years. That's $500,000 you're going to need just for your care.
Well, we could even go down the rabbit hole when it comes to this and the fact of projecting this out, right? I just throw this question out. What is the biggest generation right now, population-wise, in this country? Which generation has the biggest amount of people?
Well, that would be the baby boomer kick, right?
Correct, the baby boomers, right?
But what are we in right now? I forgot the name of it. There's a
Was it peak 65?
Peak 65,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Top 4-year average of people, it's a little over 4.1 million people a year turning 65.
Wow.
But what's happening to those people? They're aging, right? And it also is the largest by numbers population generation that we have, right? So when we're starting to look at if they need that care, who's taking care of them, right? We're in a birth decline right now in this country, so we're not going to have enough people maybe to take care of these people in nursing homes. Do we have enough home health care agencies and home health care nurses out there to take it? So really, when you're looking at the cost of it 10, 20 years down the road, it's even more inflated than potentially we're looking at right now.
Yeah, that's crazy. And it's already the most inflated sector in our economy.
By far.
1,000%.
If you look at, average inflation rate, 2-3% now. I mean, I don't remember the exact numbers, but it's double digit plus for a lot of these things.
It's
going
crazy
up every year.
So you guys know, I've been doing this for actually, guys. I went back in history yesterday a little bit. Me and Rhonda were having a conversation on our way to Knoxville, and I kept saying, "Well, 27 years, 27." She goes, "Gary, you've been doing this 29 years."
Wow.
My wife aged me 2 years. But, when you look at those stats, what happened in that time frame, I got into this business really selling long-term care insurance. And I'm happy I did it. I know a lot of those clients used it and they benefited from it. But now folks are coming in, gentlemen, with long-term care insurance, traditional long-term care insurance. They're getting these 25, 30, 40% rate increases. Or they're saying, hey, take $58,000 and say bye to this policy. It's amazing to me, Bobby, to see what's the decline of how long-term care insurance companies are actually taking care of those clients. It's scary to me.
That's the thing that kind of boils my blood the most when people come in and meet with us and I look at something and, every once in a while we'll have something that's a bad fit. Maybe we can help them with it. But if you've been paying on one of these policies for 20, 30 years, you've put, potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars into these things. And they're asking you to pay 20, 25% more a year or take some paltry amount and walk away. You're kind of stuck.
You're stuck. You're kind of stuck.
So I found this graph from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, right?
Okay.
It tracks price changes from the year 2000 to the year 2022. So 22 years worth of price changes. January 2000 to June of 2022, okay? TVs, right? How much do you think TV price changes have gone up or down since 2000?
Oh, TVs are pretty cheap right now.
Absolutely down about 90%.
Wow.
In price of change decrease, right? What is the highest service that has increased?
It's got to be healthcare.
Yeah.
Hospital services.
Hospital.
Over 200% change in price changes. So we could see decreases in new cars, clothing, cell phone services, computer software, toys, TVs. All of those have changed and trended down in prices. When you start looking at housing, food and beverage, child care and nursery schools, medical care services, college textbooks, college tuition and fees, which is another conversation. hospital services outpace all of those by far.
That's incredible.
when it
I want
comes
to
to it.
tell you guys a story real quick, if you don't mind. So I had a client, guys. This has probably been a year ago. She came in and saw us. She brought in her long-term care insurance policy, and we were already doing some planning for her. Okay, and one of the things we were adding to her plan was a fixed indexed annuity with an income rider attached. She needed income in the future, but here's what's interesting, gentlemen. Because of the fixed index annuity markets now and how they add the multi-benefit riders on there, we were able to take her long-term care. I didn't get rid of it. I kept the long-term care insurance, but we were able to increase her deductible, reduce some benefits, saved her 40% in premiums because now we had the fixed indexed annuity to make up that difference, Bobby.
That's awesome.
So she saved money. She's got an income for life, and now she don't have to ever worry about running out of money or getting sick. That's pretty darn cool.
And I love that option because, if you get traditional long-term care insurance, there's a lot of medical underwriting that goes through
Oh my
that.
gosh, yes.
If you have a multi-benefit rider on a fixed indexed annuity, there's no medical underwriting.
None. Zero.
Right? It's based
you got
on
a waiting period, probably a year, 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
That's fine. I'll give that up for not having to go through medical underwriting, especially as you're getting up in age. That just makes those traditional policies either impossible to get or super expensive.
And then we have one more option, Tanner, that I love. Now, you can have money just sitting in the bank, being boring, collecting dust, or you can have an IRA. And we can now do what we call asset-based long-term care, where we can take an asset and triple that asset for long-term care if you need it. And then if you never use the long-term care, which we hope they don't, but if they never use it, the money just passes to your beneficiaries.
Yeah, we've seen all the people come in all the time that say, I have X amount of dollars in my bank account, right? Whether it's $500,000, whether it's $1 million in the bank, right? We just call that lazy money, right?
Yeah,
It's just sitting around.
Right.
Is it really collecting an interest by chance in the bank account? Probably not. If anything, very minuscule. So why not put that money to use? Put it into an asset-based long-term care policy that's going to help double or triple that benefit if you need it. Because if it's already being lazy, right? Why not put it to work?
Put it to work for you. I know Tim and Bobby just met with a couple. I mean, I think they were 66, 65 years old. I don't remember exactly, Bobby, but I think you guys put about $200,000 into this product, and they got $600,000 for long-term care if they need it.
Yeah, at age 66. And I mean, I'm not going to say that's old, but by traditional long-term care standards, it would be impossible, right?
Yeah.
They do care about the age to a certain extent, but it was a simple 10-question medical underwriting and a phone call with the insurance company, and it took, 20 minutes.
Yeah,
boom,
done.
they just tripled her money, rather.
And
for
isn't it
long-term care.
amazing that the long-term care and the cash value continue to grow at a fixed rate, and then if she never needs that care, the money just passes to her beneficiaries. That's a little different than traditional long-term care insurance.
That's right. Traditional long-term care insurance is a use it or lose it situation.
Yeah, right.
I always joke that if you have one of those and don't need it, the insurance company hangs a picture of you in their lobby, right?
Absolutely.
They like you a lot.
They like
You're
you a lot.
an ambassador.
Yeah. That's right. But
the wall of fame that they
Wall
have.
of Fame,
Absolutely.
yeah.
But to your point, Tanner, if you're sitting in a checking account at the bank, you're not making anything on that interest. And this is a fixed rate that's, it's competitive with a lot of savings accounts out there. But the savings account doesn't triple your benefit for long-term care.
Hey, folks, there's so many things going on out there when it comes to healthcare, and you need to know what's going on. You need to have a conversation with a fiduciary advisor who can show you how to protect you and your spouse and protect your family. That's the biggest thing. We didn't get into it. Tanner just went through this. I went through it as a young man. The burden it takes on your family to try to help someone in that situation is tough. And so we want to help you. One of the things I'd like to offer you right now, a whole section in my book is about long-term care planning. I'd like to offer you a free copy of my book. All you have to do is text PLAN TODAY to 877-706-7526. Again, PLAN TODAY, both words, 877-706-7526. When we come back, it's going to be all about Tanner Moore. It's going to be all about Medicare. So if you're someone coming up to open enrollment, you're already in Medicare, or you're about to be eligible for Medicare, you want to stay tuned for the next set. We'll be right back.
You might not be able to retire if you haven't thought about future inflation and future taxes. When you're going through your retirement plan, are you thinking about inflation? Does your current plan have inflation built into it? The national average is about 3%. Of course, it's been really, really high the last few years, but it has come back down. But you've got to build inflation into your retirement plan because we don't want to run out of money. Another thing I stress to my clients all the time is we got to think about future taxes. Our government has one source of income, and that is taxes. And I promise you, with $34 trillion in debt, $2 more trillion being added this year in 2024, the interest only on our national debt is $1 trillion. Folks, taxes are going to go up. You got a window of opportunity in 2024 and 2025 while taxes are still on sale. Let's start looking at maybe taking some of your taxable money to tax-free money. This is all part of the Wealth Guard planning process. We'll do this for you when we're creating an income plan. You got to think about inflation and you got to think about taxes. Give us a call today and come in and see myself and my team, and let's put this plan together for you.
Welcome back to Plan Today, Own Tomorrow with Guardian Investment Advisors. I'm Gary Thurman, the CEO and your host on Plan Today, Own Tomorrow. Sitting here with my good buddy Tanner Moore, Bobby Futch today. We got the girls out in the office working hard for our clients. And guys, we've had an interesting show today. We talked about, taxes. We talk about taxes on every show, Bobby. We really got into healthcare on the last segment. This segment, we're going to jump into Medicare a little bit. But guys, I've got an announcement I want to make. I hope everybody's listening up. We are now currently running radio shows in the Knoxville, Tennessee area. Boys, we're opening up a shop in Knoxville.
That's exciting, isn't it?
Man, I'm pumped.
Cue Rocky Top.
Come on, Rocky Top.
Where's Rocky
Yeah,
Top?
that's right, baby. Ron and I were up there yesterday getting everything finalized, and we are so excited to be able to bring what we do here in the Chattanooga area to Knoxville, to the Knoxville clients up there, and we're just so passionate about what we do, and I'm excited about it. Looking at doing events up there next month. Our office has got to do a little bit of a build out, but we're going to find somewhere to work until then. But it's going to be a lot of fun. So if you're in the Knoxville area and you're listening today, all of this applies to you, all right? Everything applies to you as well, because we would love to sit down and have a conversation with you. Tanner, here we go. Medicare Unmasked, right? What does it cover? What does it not cover? And you know what? 3.5, I think, years ago, when you and I first had a conversation about Medicare, has it been 4 years?
Over four.
I'm
now.
aging myself again, gentlemen.
We're in
Jeez.
year 5 now.
So Tanner and I started talking about Medicare, and it was a service that I was sending out to others because it was just it was something I didn't want to take on personally. But when Tanner was like, Gary, I want this opportunity, he just took the bull by its horns, man, and he has just really dominated the Medicare space. He's taken his education background, and that's how he shows people Medicare. It's how he educates them on Medicare. So Tanner, let's just jump in, man. I mean, what's included, what's not included. And let's just start with the basics, Medicare Part A, B, and D.
Well, first off, that's great imagery, taking the bull by its horns in the Medicare world, because that's exactly kind of what it is, right? It is a go environment, but really it's a go environment because there's so many people turning 65 every day that there's too many people to help out there. There's not enough people that do what we do here, right? There's other great agents in this area too. All we ask is you work with somebody local that you trust, right? And there's not enough of us out there to help how many people are turning 65. So really the supply is out there, but it's finding the person and getting them to reach out to us. That is the big mystery sometimes, because a lot of people want the convenience of calling a 1-800 number, right?
Yeah.
You have all these commercials that are out there, and you know what? Some of them are going to do right by you, right? But there's a lot of them that, and you can look at them, they're publicly traded companies out there that they look at a bottom line, and that bottom line means you're a number to them, right? They don't care about your health. They don't care about really what they're putting you into. They're just trying to write a policy on you.
Sell.
I'm not sitting here saying they're bad, right?
No.
But it's the fact of the matter that choosing who you work with is important in our world, because I have seen some very hard situations to unravel with people, situations that unfortunately they're not going to be able to stop bills coming in because they were on an improper plan that maybe didn't have their network of providers or their hospitals in it. And so it's really important to choose properly and trust the person that's planning for you.
You brought up something interesting to me, because you just said a lot of people like the convenience at home, right? I love that I can sit on my couch, get on the phone, and get my Medicare plan taken care of. But Bobby, can't Tanner do the same thing?
What was that?
As
Pretty
your
sure.
local rep.
Pretty sure Tanner has a telephone.
Yeah.
Do you know how to use it?
Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
good. We're good.
Right.
Yeah, he's even got a headset. I've seen him on there. You know, the thing that gets me, and I've been in the financial planning industry for almost a decade and a half now, and it's just like an alphabet soup.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
as somebody who sees it a lot, every once in a while I'll ask Tanner to come in and just give me a refresher course. All right, remind me Medicare, Medigap plans versus Advantage plans. How do they work? Because they all cover something a little different.
So, Bobby, I'm going to stick with you. I'm going to ask you this question. The role of Medicare planning in your financial health. What you're helping people with their money. Why is Medicare such a key component to their plan altogether?
It's huge. It's a risk management tool, first off, and it's really important in your cash flow planning. And that's why I love having Tanner Moore 2 doors down from me here. Because
Right.
if we have a client that we both work on together, when I'm doing income planning for that client, I'll go to Tanner and say, Tanner, kind of talk to me about what plan they're on. What kind of income limitations might
Yeah.
we have? And that's huge. And not a lot of people talk about that because if you make too much money, air quotes, your premiums can go up. So you need to make sure that that's taken into account in your income plan.
So is that a misconception about Medicare that people are not keeping up with? Is that
Yeah, I think it's so Medicare, choosing the right Medicare plan, right? Very rarely am I going to have somebody call, and it happens though. Still, somebody's calling in about a year or 2 years in advance and saying, "You know what, Tanner, I want to get ahead of this, so let's have that conversation right now." It's happened, right? But very few and far between. Typically, it is, "Hey, Tanner, I turn 65 next month. I don't know what I need to do. Can you help educate me on my options? I'm still working. I still have health coverage. Do I need to take Medicare?" The conversation can go lots of different ways. And typically, health insurance is one of the last things that we're thinking about. It's not a front of mind situation. We want to talk about our income all the time because that's our income in retirement.
Right.
Nobody really wants to talk about their health insurance in retirement that often.
It's not
because
exciting.
It's not exciting. It's not sexy, right? And also, maybe that person's healthy and they're just not thinking of what can happen once I get sick,
Yeah,
right?
that's a
we
great-
don't want to. We push it to the side, and you have to plan for these scenarios.
That's a great point, and along with that, not hoping you don't have to use it. When you get on a Medicare plan, there's going to be what you call a max out of pocket, right, Tanner? You can know, if the most terrible thing happened to you when you're on Medicare,
Worst case scenario.
I know how much money you're going to be out of pocket,
Yeah.
and I can help you plan for that.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing there is that, that's going to be on one side of Medicare, that Part C side of Medicare, Medicare Advantage plans where you have a max out of pocket. Original Medicare, there is no cap with Part B spending. So as high as your bills climb up, the bill is going to continue to go. That's why a Medicare supplement on that side is important to have secondary coverage to help cover the gaps of Medicare. And that's really where the myth is. People don't understand exactly what they have.
So you're saying there's gaps in coverage between traditional Medicare and then Medicare Advantage.
Correct. So, for
Okay.
example, let's say that person out there is on original Medicare, Parts A and B. That means Uncle Sam is their primary insurer. Original Medicare is covering their expenses when they go to the hospital. Now, there's a deductible that they're going to leave for you to pay.
Well, yeah,
but that's
but-
where your Medicare supplement is coming and kicking
Picks it
in.
up.
Correct. But original Medicare, there's no cap to the spending. So, chemotherapy, you have cancer diagnosis, right? As high as the bill goes, which I think we can understand chemotherapy is a very expensive service, you're going to be responsible for 20% Part B of your medical, the outpatient care. That number does not have a cap. That's why Medicare supplements are important. However, here's the myth that I see. People say, "You know what, Tanner, I have a Medicare supplement. I love my supplement. My supplement's awesome." "Oh, that's awesome. Do you mind getting out your card and let me see it?" Yeah, absolutely. And they hand it to me. And they really have a Part C plan. They have a Medicare Advantage plan.
Okay.
But they think it's a supplement.
Oh,
They
I
don't
see.
understand the differences of which side. And so that's
Okay.
the myth and the misconception we see a lot of. People just don't know what they have, right?
And you just brought up the deductibles and all that stuff, Bobby. And Tanner just gave us a stat from 2020 to 2022. The healthcare hospitalizations went up 200%. You need to understand what you've got.
Right.
What Tanner was just saying, how important it is. Don't overlook Medicare. Don't just go do what your Uncle Joe did or your spouse did or your uncle did, whatever the case is. You got to make sure you pick the right plan for you.
Yeah, because when you plan for retirement from a cash flow and budgeting standpoint, you can cut a lot of things out in your retirement if you want to or if you had to. Can you cut out medical costs? I guess you could, But that's going to be the last thing I cut out.
Right.
Right. Make
Yeah.
sure you know what's covered, what's not.
Yep.
And when you have that potential out-of-pocket expense, make sure you plan for it.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to be left high and dry. God forbid you need to do that.
So Tanner, we got about a minute and a half here, and I know that's a short time frame period, but take people like it, if someone wants to have a conversation with you on the phone, if somebody wants to have a Zoom call with you, if somebody wants to come in here and sit down in person with you, it's just a conversation, right?
Yep.
It's there's you're not holding them to the fire, going, "Hey, you're buying this plan from me." You're going to educate them.
Right, and it's going to be an education process. Sometimes to its core, it's hard for me to give you a recommendation because it's all about what you want out of the policy. I feel that if I educate you enough and help you understand both options that are out there, you're going to know which side, because again, it's a risk tolerance perspective. How much risk do you want to take on with your healthcare planning? Some people have a budget in mind as well, so it's about finding the middle ground between both of those, and then letting you make the decision. Because if I educated you properly, you're most likely going to know which side, that
you're more
gonna be on.
comfortable with, right?
Correct. And it happened the other day where the person on Friday wasn't comfortable. They didn't know which side. They said, well, I just don't know. We spent 60 minutes on the phone talking about it, right? We talked to them yesterday after the weekend. You know what, Tanner? It's so much clearer now after the weekend is set in, after we went over it. At the time, I was foggy, but after a couple days of just digesting this, now I know which side I want.
I think it's amazing. Medicare planning, healthcare planning, tax planning, it all rolls into one. The one thing I would invite all of you to do, if you are headed into Medicare, first of all, go to our website, giaplantoday.com. Tanner will be having events coming up over the next few months to really help you get ready for open enrollment. But if you're just like, I want to know more about Medicare, we've made it so easy for you. Text the word Medicare to 877-706-7526. Again, text the word Medicare, 877-706-7526. Get that review, get that form, then have a conversation with Tanner. Let him educate you on what's out there. Find out what is right for you. You don't have to do what everybody else is doing. We need to find the Medicare plan that's right for you. So again, text the word Medicare, 877-706-7526. When we come back, we're going to talk about my favorite subject. We're going to talk about income planning. Stay tuned. Too many people enter retirement without a plan or a tax strategy, and it costs them. Every dollar you save from taxes is a dollar that can be put to work to help secure your retirement. At Guardian Investment Advisors, we have the experience and the expertise to create a customized financial strategy that includes smart tax planning. It's not about quick fixes or magic formulas. It's about building a comprehensive, tax-efficient plan. We're offering a no-cost portfolio and tax strategy review to get you started. Schedule an appointment with us today. You'll be glad you did. Welcome back to Plan the Day, Own Tomorrow with Guardian Investment Advisors. I am your host, Gary Thurman. I'm here with Bobby Futch, Tanner Moore today. We got Tristan over in the corner making sure everything is working right for us. We got the ladies out in the office taking care of our clients. And gentlemen, what a great show we've had today. If you've missed the show, you can go to our website, listen to the show, kind of in podcast form. But check it out, because we talked about taxes. We talked about health care. We talked about Medicare. And we're really going to get into that conversation, gentlemen, about running out of money. The number one fear in all retirement right now is running out of money. I mean, longevity risk, Bobby, I'm going to start with you. Longevity risk and inflation are a real thing, and you better be ready.
Two of the biggest risks in retirement
100%.
are longevity risk and inflation. We mentioned in a previous segment that now 70+% of people are going to need some sort of long-term care coverage. And I think part of that is because people are living longer now. Medical people are taking better care of themselves generally. Medical science, if you will, has gotten better, so we can live longer sick, which is it's the downside of that. But it's something you need to think about. It's not unreasonable for people to live in their 90s now, and so that's 30+ years of retirement for a lot of folks.
Yeah.
So you have to plan to make your money last for decades at this point. And inflation is a big one. Things are not going to get any cheaper.
No.
It never happens. We
No.
talked earlier again about
No.
medical services being up 200+% in the last 20 years. I don't think that's going to come down anytime soon. And as more people are getting older, there's less people providing those services. it's just a supply and demand thing, right? It's just going to mean those are going to continue to go up.
Right.
So you need to make sure you understand what those are in retirement and take care of them.
Something I'm seeing out there, Bobby, here in Chattanooga and in Knoxville as well, but something I'm seeing are okay, folks are worried about running out of money, and they're going and working with advisors, and they're only putting them into some type of an annuity. Guess what? I'm not mad about that, but you can't put all of your money into a fixed index. You just can't. You got to have some liquidity. You got to have some skin in the game in the market. That's a big thing right now.
Yeah, one of the great things about a fixed indexed annuity, and there's a lot of really good things about them, is that guaranteed income.
Yeah,
and
it's
that's
beautiful,
huge, right? That's a cornerstone of a lot of planning we do around here. But you also have to think about these things that are going to get more expensive in the future. So you need some money in the market. We call it our red bucket of money.
Yeah.
And the thing about the red bucket of money is that you are generally over time going to get better returns in the market than you do in any sort of guaranteed product.
Right.
That's just the way it works.
Yeah,
You
just
have
life.
you have to give something up for that 0% floor. But that also means you need that extra bucket of money to continue to grow for you to help take care of things like longevity risk, taxes in the future, inflation. But you need to be able to do it in a way that you're not taking on too much risk.
That's right. And Tanner, do you think, so we use our red bucket, our green bucket, and our yellow bucket. Of course, yellow bucket, that's just our savings. That's our emergency money. We've got to have that. But do you think if the green bucket is established with a certain amount of your retirement plan, and you got this guaranteed income that you set up, you told us I need this much a month, guaranteed for the rest of my life, do you think that creates a lot of confidence going into retirement? And now maybe Bobby and Tim can work with that red bucket of money and be a little more aggressive. I think creating that confidence is a big thing.
Yeah, it definitely is a confidence thing because when you're going into retirement, you want every day to feel like a Saturday, right? So
Yeah,
you want to be able
yeah.
to wake up and do what you want to do, whether that's travel, whether that's be active at the lake, the beach, play golf, I'm saying things that I would like to do when I get to retirement, right?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
But you also have time on your hands. And when market volatility hits and the news is out there and you're able to watch more of that, you may have some fear that's going out. And so I think having that green bucket established is that confidence because now hey, peace of mind, I have this solved for my situation. So I can let Bobby and Tim handle the red bucket side
right,
of things
yeah.
for you.
From a portfolio management standpoint, we call that reducing the sequence of risk return.
That's right.
And so we know over a reasonable amount of time, the market has generally averaged 7-8% since the 1930s. And so that's a reasonable expectation moving forward, but that doesn't always mean that you're going to get 7% every year.
Right.
You could lose 10, 20% in the market, and if that is your red bucket is your primary driver of your income,
Yeah.
pulling funds out of a down account
Sure.
is just kind of like a double whammy.
Yeah.
Right.
And so if you have your income taken care of, it brings that sequence of return risk down, and it allows you the time to have those assets recover.
Bobby, imagine if someone was retired at the end of 2007.
Well, they wouldn't have been.
And they left all their money in their 401k, and they're like, I'm just going to draw 4% off this and live the rest of my life. What happened?
Yeah, there's a couple problems with that. One, 2008 happened, and
Yep.
it was down, top to bottom, almost 60%. Half of your savings was gone in less than a year. Okay, that is
You're going back to work.
you're going back to work,
Yeah.
and you're going back to work soon, right? Like the next day, you're calling your boss back and saying, "Hey, I'm just kidding." But it's one of those things that if you have that income taken care of, again, that was a 100% equity portfolio, that down 60%. But there are a lot of people, we talked 401ks earlier.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of safe places to be in a
No.
401k
Yeah.
unless you just want to stash it in cash.
Cash and cash. That's boring.
That's boring. And cash is good. We talk about our yellow bucket. You need some sort of cash, but you're really losing purchasing power on cash over time. Once you
Absolutely.
pay the taxes on the 1099, once you take into account inflation, your bank money is going to buy less tomorrow than it did today.
Yeah, I'm seeing this next question. I'm going to throw at Tanner, and it made me think of George Foreman. Because George Foreman came out. He just passed away recently, didn't he?
He did.
He did. Yeah. He came out with a quote. I mean, it's been a while back, but he's like, "It's not about how much you have to retire; it's how much income you have to retire." So, Tanner, the question is, what's the difference between retirement savings and retirement income?
Yeah, so retirement savings is going to be, hey, I've stashed $1 million into my 401k. I have $1 million to live off of. Now I'm ready to retire, right? Well, I'm a big believer in Herm Edwards as a coach. A goal without
His
a
book
plan.
is so good.
Yes, a goal without a plan is a wish, right? I'll repeat that. A goal without a plan is a wish. And that's kind of that person that's out there. Hey, I got all this money saved up. Now I'm going to retire and I'm just going to start pulling funds from various accounts, right? Well, going back to what Bobby just said there, sequence of returns plays a factor there, and you have another down market, and you can't time these markets, right? So if you retire and maybe the first couple of years are down markets, Bobby can show you the math right now that your withdrawal rate coming out of those accounts with having trendingly down assets, money may run out, right?
Yeah. I'll point out two things there. One, a lot of people come to us and say, I've saved $750, $1 million, $2 million of retirement, I'm ready. I don't have a clue, right? I've got to ask more questions about that. You know, if you're spending, $30,000 a year, you're probably okay, right? You're good to go. But if you're used to being a high income earner and you want to keep that lifestyle through retirement, and you're spending $200,000 a year in retirement, $1 million isn't going to go very far.
No, sir.
And so, to your point, it's not an asset number. It's not a net worth number for you to determine whether or not you're ready for retirement.
Yeah.
It's what can those assets do for you in a cash flow perspective. And that's different for everybody because everybody wants different cash flows. Everybody has a different risk tolerance. It's really, that's why we do what we do here and sit down in a fiduciary way and go through all of your stuff to figure out what you actually want.
You just made me think of a conversation I had with one of our current clients. I did a program for them probably about 10 years ago, Bobby, and the focus was income. Well, now they're retired. They don't need the income. I mean, they planned well. They did well, but they're like, Gary, I might need this down the road, but I might not because they just adjusted their lifestyle. Maybe they were spending $100,000 a year, but now they're only spending $40,000 a year. So, I mean, there's a big life happens, things change, and you've got to have a plan, Tanner, that you can be flexible with. And you also got to have a fiduciary firm that's willing to go, hey, this is going to be a hard conversation, but we got to have it right now.
Yeah, having the hard conversations is what you should be looking for in your advisor because they're wanting to pull out the pain points. What is it that potentially is going to come down the road that you can't foresee yourself happening? And so that's really a good relationship to have with them.
I think it's so cool, Bobby, that a lot of people are probably listening today. They're 64, 65, whatever the case may be. They're like, man, am I ready to retire? Like these guys are talking about healthcare planning, taxes, Medicare planning, income planning. My guy or gal, all we ever talk about is growth. Am I ready to retire?
Yeah,
it's hard.
It's a really hard thing. And don't get me wrong, growth is a good thing. Everybody needs growth in their investments. But you really have to look at retirement from a holistic picture. What are you growing for? What is your goal for that growth? Because if you came to us as a prospect and said, Bobby, I want you to invest my money and make me as much as I can.
Yeah.
We're probably not a good fit for you.
Right.
Because that's not what we're set up to do here. We're set up to make sure we put a plan in place and hit those benchmarks along the way to make sure that plan stays in place.
We want plans for life.
That's right.
We want clients for life. We want to do everything we can for you to make sure it's right for you. So, gentlemen, we talked about 4 areas today. We talked about taxes, healthcare, misunderstanding Medicare, and the fear of running out of money. And I think my final advice for someone, Bobby, you agree or not, pick one. Pick one of the 4 things we talked about today. Come in and let's start there. Let's have a conversation about taxes or income planning. Start somewhere. Be proactive.
Yeah, let's do it. I love it.
Quit
Give us a call on
procrastinating.
the phone. Call us. We can talk about one of those things. But I think what you'll find, Gary, is all those little things have tentacles, and they go to all
They
the other
all
places.
blend together, gentlemen. What a great show, guys.
It was
It's been
great.
a lot of
Great.
fun. Here's something I want to offer you folks. If you're sitting at your house and you're like, man, am I actually ready to retire? We created this awesome calculator, GIAquiz.com. GIAquiz.com. Go in there. What is it, 35 questions, gentlemen? It's about 35 questions. You'll get a good feel if you're actually ready to retire or not. Then come in and have a conversation with us. Let's start putting this plan together. Let's talk about healthcare and Medicare and taxes and income planning. That's what we do here, and we do it so simple with a yellow, green, and a red bucket system. You're going to love it because it makes life simpler. And like Tanner said earlier, you can go into retirement living every day like a Saturday. Gentlemen, great show today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Enjoy
Tanner,
it. Good job.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
absolutely.
Tristan, good job over there in the corner, buddy. Hey, guys, thank you for tuning in to Plan Today on Tomorrow.